Well, hello and welcome back, everyone. It is Wednesday. It is Wednesday, right? Yeah, it's Wednesday. How's it going, everyone? Here we are in the second week of our Creative Daily Challenge, jamming along as we always do, with our Creative Daily Challenge, learning Adobe XD and just dominating at sustainability and making the earth better, right? So, it's been a lot of fun. And I'm actually sad that this week is ending because it's the last week of this challenge. It doesn't mean I won't be back, because I'm definitely going to be back, I love streaming. You guys are awesome. But it does mean that we'll have to wait until that happens. So I think we have an exciting stream ahead of us. I think we have a really exciting stream ahead of us for our XD Daily Creative Challenge. So I'd love to hear everyone introduce themselves in the chat. I would love to hear your name and where you're from. Well, I guess your name's already on there, so you can just say where you're from and maybe like what's the weather like, right? Because I'm curious about that too. So in New York, where I'm streaming from, it's rainy, it's chilly, not the most ideal. Yeah. So I think the last stream actually came in a little late. So if you're just jumping in and it's like, whoa, Sam's already live, it's like, just some misalignment on, because we're streaming in different locations actually. So I'm in New York. What you were just watching was in San Francisco. Amazing, right? And then it's jumping back to San Francisco. I think that was in San Francisco. I actually didn't watch the previous stream because I was setting up for this one. But after this stream, Joanne Lee, my classmate, also fellow Adobe intern on the design team, is going to be joining us afterwards. That's very exciting. Very, very exciting. She kills it. She's dominating everything. So hello, everyone. Hoitzin from Pakistan, Olga from Austria, Sajril from Midnight, and Chile in Kathmandu. Ooh, wow, that's late. And Chile, oof, wow. West of France is where Voco's from. Wow, it's so great to have everyone here. Let's jump into some things. I'm so great that everyone's back and we're jamming along. Cool, Cornelian's from Texas. Actually, I'm not sure if I knew that, because I know you keep coming back, so it's great to see that. So you've seen this before, or if you haven't, welcome to the stream. This is our homepage here. It's behance.net/challenge/XD. And mine is from Morocco. Hello, Morocco. That's great. I'm glad everyone from around the world is joining in here. We have all these challenges that we've been hacking along ever since day one, right? So here we are, October 9th. Wow, this is going to be great. We're doing a gardening app. And so you can get started here with our Get Started link, and you can download our file, which I made for all of you, and we're getting started on there. Also Discord. We're chatting it up in Discord, having fun, showing people's designs. We're giving critique so that we can become better designers, which is, we always want that, right? I'm a big fan of becoming a better designer. So rad. Okay. So one more thing that I did want to show you, like small sneak peek. Okay, so I've been tweeting. So I'm on Twitter. I'm sam.design on Twitter, but the dot is DOT. Slightly confusing because my website's sam.design. Anyway, the other day I updated my operating system to Mac OS Catalina, and you can actually pair it with your iPad, and I could use my iPad as a screen for my computer, and that means I could use XD on my iPad. I just thought that was so cool that you can run XD on an iPad. So I mean, if you can do that, if you've got a computer and an iPad, if you've got an Apple machine and an iPad that's compatible, that'd be fun. Follow me on Twitter. I'm always tweeting like fun things. I made this sneak the other day for a future XD feature that I'm working on, so you can check that out too. So yeah, I think we can dive into our challenge here, because that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. You know, I just realized the reason why I think I started late is because my time's off on here. But you know, it's okay. We're streaming. It's fine. Cool. Okay. So here we are. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, let's jump into XD here. This is our starter file. It's it's set up for everything that you might need. So let's read our prompt. So bring gardening into the 21st century with an app for novices to identify how often they should be watering. Allow people to look up plants and set a calendar with reminders. What can your app do to make gardening easier? I think that's a fun prompt there. Why not? I have some other apps. This is not necessarily a new idea, but I think it's a fun one. Okay, I'm going to just reset my timer over here so that we can make sure that we're all synced up. Perfect. That was wrong. You wouldn't think that a time would be wrong, but it was. Okay. It's all good now. Okay, so we have some inspiration there. I think the other apps that do this, they show you, okay, what are some plants that you have in your garden? What are like the days until they need to be harvested, right? So that's like this one. This is vegetable garden planner. I don't think it exists anymore. I couldn't really actually find much on it. But you know, it's there. It exists. And then we have some other ones that I thought were interesting too. Cool stuff. And then we have our design, or at least this is what I started with. This is what I have so far. I took in some emojis of some vegetables, and I'll show you how you can do that as well. And we're going to use these as our visuals for our app. I'm a big advocate of using emojis, just because why not? And they're beautiful. Like, look at those. They're great. They look great. Good job, Apple, for like making gorgeous emojis. So if you make emojis in XD the traditional way, where you're like, okay, let's make a text box and we'll put the emoji in. Well, first thing you'll notice is that the emoji picker doesn't show up, which is a bug. Let me go full screen here. Which is a bug, which actually means that you actually need to go to some other text box somewhere, and then you can get the emoji picker, right? And then you like pick one, right? It's the strawberry, right? And then you can copy that and paste it into XD. So there's a few steps you need to do. So you paste it into XD and you're like, okay, cool, I have an emoji. But what's hey Richard, how's it going? Hey Bruno, it's great to see everyone. What might be a little confusing is if you're trying to put emojis into XD, it's funny because like XD is an emoji, like the name XD. If you're trying to put emojis into XD, you might like have them, they might disappear if you zoom in too far. And so the way we can combat that is that if we go to 100% zoom and we scale it up, so let's scale it up as much as we can before it starts disappearing. And the reason why this happens is just because these emojis aren't vector and they can't scale infinitely, right? So we find like, oh, what's the biggest we can make it before it disappears? Like right there. Okay, so like there, and then we do copy. I did Command C, and then I actually opened Preview, the Preview app. Now I'm sorry, I do not know actually how I would do this on Windows, but this is how I would do it on Mac. And then inside Preview, we do File, New from Clipboard, or Command N. And this is cool because now we have our clipboard in Preview, which is nice. And then we can actually copy that, go back to XD, paste it, and now that's flat. That's flat. That's not a text box anymore. And so now we have an image, right? So we basically just flattened. And XD doesn't actually have a flatten feature. I know it's something that people definitely want, so we're looking into that. But like that's a nice workaround in the meantime. Fun stuff. Hey Gus, how's it going? Thanks for tuning in. So cool stuff there. That's how we can get emojis into XD. So that's what I did with all these ones. And these are going to be our garden elements. So, I mean, if we have 5 vegetables growing, I think we have a pretty substantial garden. Like, you know, not too bad of a garden setup if we've got 5 going on. And then also great resource. I think we're going to use this as our background texture. Yeah, mine is asking, is it PNG? Yes, it's a PNG and it's got a transparent background. So you'll notice there's no white backgrounds, and we can really, they're pretty high resolution. If you zoom in too much, you'll notice the pixelation, but it's plenty for what we need. This texture I brought into XD, and I'll show you how we can work with textures in XD as well. I love this website, which is called Subtle Patterns. It looks like it's under the domain toptool.com. Anyway, if you go there, Subtle Patterns, I think if you just Google Subtle Patterns, you'll find it. But there's tons of these like patterns that you know, can add just that slight little flavor, little extra flavor to your design. And you know, sometimes you want flat colors, sometimes you want a little bit of texture. I go back and forth, but I do think that skeuomorphism is starting to have a trend back into our designs. So I don't know. What do you think? Is that happening? I don't know. Maybe. I'm curious of your opinion in the chat. So I brought that image into XD, but now we need a way to tile it. And thankfully, we have a thing called repeat grid. And if we just do repeat grid here, we make that image a repeat grid. We can just drag it down, and then it repeats itself, and we can adjust our spacing to make it 0 pixels of padding between each grid element. So that's fun. That's great. Cool. Okay, and mine is asking, must use it as a vector if you design an iOS app icon or an iOS app. No. Yeah, you want as many things to be vector as possible. But depending on how you're sharing your resources with a developer, you know, you might be okay with images in some circumstances. We can also, if we wanted to, this image is wide enough, but we could also change the padding going left and right. And so look at that. We have a repeating texture that can go infinitely, and we just need it to be this big. Cool. So we have a background for our app, which is super fun. Cool. Okay, just checking my time here. Cool. Okay, so we have our vegetables. You know, we could do a list, but I think we're better than a list. I think we're better than a list. So we're gonna do bubbles. So here's the tomato bubble. We'll group that, and maybe different bubbles have different sizes depending on like how ready they are or how close they are to being done, right? Who knows? My inspiration for this one is actually like, have you seen the iOS or the Apple Watch like interface with all those apps, and they're all kind of like bubbly and different sizes? That's what I'm going for here. I think that's a really elegant design. Okay. Look at all of our vegetables. So fun. And then actually what I'm envisioning, so like in this one, we just had like carrots, days until harvest, and we have a progress bar. Like, cool, but I think because we're not doing a list and we're doing a different kind of format, we can actually stretch that a little bit. Let's continue to group these together. So we're staying grouped. Cool. I think we'll put the progress bar actually as a ring around the circle. Did you guys see that coming? I think it's a neat idea of how we could add our progress bar. And that progress bar is just telling us when we need to harvest these plants. Right? So maybe we'll go a little bit smaller on this one, on the broccoli. What's your favorite vegetable? I'm curious. I like carrots. They're the sweetest ones, you know? Probably the least healthy too, because of all the sugar. But you know, they're nice. Okay. I think carrots need to be smaller though. Okay. let's make that smaller. Here we go. Look at that. No, a little bigger. There we go. And then tomatoes can be even bigger. Strawberry. Group that. Cool. And you can imagine this could be even bigger with an expanded garden. And maybe even one of these is a plus button, right? To add a new... This is like an organic interface, right? Why confine yourself to rectangles and grids? I mean, grids are great. And even a design like this can somehow follow a grid. But, you know, if you're going to break the boundary, just break it like completely, right? So, okay. So we're going to make a little plus button. I'm not sure if today we will get to actually having the feature where we show like adding a new plant, but for your design, add that if you want. Cool. We can do, okay, plus, maybe it should be like green. No, maybe it should be just like a gray like that and smaller. And so that just kind of hangs out if you want to add another vegetable to your garden. And then I'm using another typeface that I used previously, which is called Hauschka rounded. I think I'm saying that right. It's on Adobe fonts, and so we'll do we'll do my garden. Yeah, I think that's what's on the other one. Or we can do like backyard. Maybe you have multiple gardens, and so like this is your backyard garden as opposed to your front yard garden, or who knows. Okay, so you could label it your garden there, and maybe we'll give this we'll use some earthy tones, right? Maybe instead of black, just a very dark brown like that is kind of nice, right? And we can add additional options up there. I'm really getting into this. This is great. Cool. Ooh, I like that. Isn't that cool? Okay. And then each of these is going to have like a progress bar around it. So let's do a border, and let's do like 3. And you know, in my other daily challenges, I was going deeper into like animation, but for this one, I think we're just going to stick with like, let's make a few things look really good as opposed to like a whole bunch of screens. Of course, I encourage you to add like that additional functionality for adding a new plant, maybe how these things change with time. Absolutely, go for it. Maybe they change in size, you know, like what would it show up like today, and then what would it show up like tomorrow if I checked back? Would the values be slightly different? Would the colors change, right? I think the colors would change. Like this one, green. Okay. Actually, so I'm going to make, so I was applying this as a border on the shape, but I'm actually going to duplicate it, take off the border, take off the fill off the second shape. So now we just have the border that we can work with. And because the reason I want to do that is because I actually want to set it in a little bit to have that border around it, that white border around it. So let's do that. Let's do our little dash and gap trick, which is that we can set up a dash like that is, if we set up a gap that is bigger than the circumference of the circle, like 900, and we make the dash however much we want that to be filled, like so that's 90. We can do, let's say, let's see what 300 looks like. I'll say 300 looks kind of good, and let's make that rounded. And so like that's like maybe almost 50, between 50 and 60%, like near completion, right? And so just with that alone, we're getting an idea of what the tomato status is. And we can do the same for carrot. And actually maybe the color changes. So maybe it should be yellow because it's not quite ready yet. But then when it's fully around the circle, then we can change it to something like green, right? So we'll make this one smaller for the carrot here. I think we're gonna have to make the carrot just a tiny bit smaller here. Awesome. And then carrots, okay. I like the green, and then it'll be like almost done. So it'll be maybe just slightly yellow, almost green, because it's like slightly, it's like the carrots are almost ready. Let's do 390. No, that's too much. 350. Oh yeah, so they're almost done. Carrots are almost done. And then and you could also add a separate ring, perhaps, do a separate ring for like when they need to be watered. I actually kind of like that idea. Like when do they need to be watered next? And then maybe instead of the color of the ring changing depending on time, it's just the watering ring is always blue and the ring for when it's ready is always green, you know? And then we stay consistent. Potatoes. Which is the potatoes? The potatoes are probably, let's say the potatoes are like fully done. It's a full ring. And so like they're ready to harvest. Cool. Let's keep the border consistent, so the amount of space between this and the outer white shell the same. And let's do it on this one as well. Whoa, I'm copying things from all over the place. Does anyone here do, oh my God, what am I doing? Does anyone here do gardening? Okay, I realize what happened is that I have some groups that are bigger than they need to be. String beans, says Richard. Is that your favorite? Is that your favorite vegetable? Not bad. I like string beans. Okay. Carrots too. Okay. Glad to hear it. Okay. Good stuff. And maybe the strawberries are like, they're red. Because strawberries are red. No, they're going to be red because, let's say, they're still like early days. They're not ready to be harvested at all. Right? And so this app would actually know the cycles of each of them and be able to tell you. Okay. Let's add our last ring for this one. Cool. And this one, let's say, what should the broccoli be? Maybe broccoli is like in the middle again, so it's like another yellow one. And we'll do 200. We need to make sure that size is actually good enough. We need to make it smaller. Okay. Look at that. Maybe a little bigger. Boom. And then each of these could actually open up into their own little cards when you tap on them. And so I'll move them all down here. And just to give you an example of what that might look like. So let's say we tap on tomatoes. Everything else maybe like goes down, right? Everything else kind of goes down. The circle maybe gets bigger. Ooh, that could be kind of fun. Maybe it turns into, it could turn into a rectangle. That could be kind of cool. How we would do that is we would do a rectangle and we'd actually just make it fully round on the radius. And then it looks like a circle, but it's hiding. It's Halloween for this rectangle. It is actually, it's pretending to be a circle, but it's a rectangle. Okay. We would do that like that. Boom. And almost out of time here. Okay. And we'd copy that onto this one because we changed it. And whenever we make a change onto artboards, we need to make sure they're the same on both so that we can auto animate. And then on this one, boom, let's make that rectangle come out. Everything will get just a tiny bit smaller. We're going to need to adjust this just a tad. Boom. And then we can add additional information like tomatoes. And we can actually add like when to water, when to harvest next, right? So let's say, okay, tomatoes, should they go, maybe they should go center. Yeah, I like that. And I think everything else should be kind of pushed down just a tad more. Whoa, I have 2 carrots. Look, how did I get 2 carrots? Something happened there. I was duplicating a lot of things. And so a lot of things happened. Okay. And we could do like last watered Thursday. And maybe it's actually even hooked up with the weather. Can you imagine that? If it was hooked up with the weather and like it knowed like when it rained as well as when like you watered it. So maybe you can actually like you know, notate some. I spelled Thursday wrong. Thursday. Thursday. There we go. Cornelian asked, what about a plant that is past ripe? That is a good question. Past ripe. I imagine like it would show a full ring, but instead of green, the full ring would be red, right? So maybe something like that. I think you should explore that for your design. You know, there's so many different ways you could style this type of interface. Last watered Thursday. And we could include additional information here, right? I think you know what that would look like. Maybe less bold than this. I do like the rounded corners, though. I'm kind of biased in any situation towards typefaces with rounded corners. It's friendly. Let's wire this up and see if that transition looks good. Transition, auto animate, tap. I'm kind of curious how that looks. Let's try it. Whoa! Look at that! That was cool. Look. Boom. Boom. And so I'm noticing that rotational dial is actually kind of changing. You notice it flicker a little bit, but it's not too bad. The shape is growing and the other ones are moving out of the way. Perhaps the order actually shuffles up so that they're all kind of bunched up against there. And then you can expand other ones. That could be kind of fun. You can collapse it down. You can add additional information. There should be a way that you input like, oh, I watered this plant today, you know? That would be a fun additional measure. Cool. And so when you do have your design all synced up and ready, oh, Cornelian said maybe gray out the plant. Yeah, I think that's an option. Like you could either reduce the opacity like this, or you make it like completely grayscale, right? You could do that in preview. So I showed you preview, right? So if you go to the settings here, we can actually reduce the saturation completely. Look at that. And we can copy that and put that in there. And now the strawberry isn't even red. Oh no. Oh, that looks so like dystopian. I like the red strawberry much better. So you can share your design with this blue button at the top right. When you're done with your design, create a link, share for review, create a link. You can pop that into our Discord and we can talk about it. Look, there's the emojis again. We can talk about your design and give you feedback, which is what we have been doing. And then when you are ready for version 2 to go live into the world, you can upload it to Behance. Tell people a little bit about your story and how you made it. You know, with this, right? You can upload like a really long image to get that going for you. And then when you're publishing, go to discoverability under keywords, add XD, daily challenge. And that's cool because then it will show up with everyone else. Look, this is everyone else that's done daily challenges. Pretty neat, right? I dig it. Wow, how fun. That's about all the time we have. I would like to encourage you to stay live because my great friend and classmate Joanne Lee is joining us live after this in San Francisco. Look, I have her name here too. Joanne Lee. She's probably in the studio getting ready and like watching the stream as it's going. And she's like, why is my name on the screen? Okay. So I'll be back tomorrow and the next day. And we're going to be doing more challenges, getting it live. And I'll be in Discord giving you all feedback. So, you know, it's going to be a blast. Stay tuned for Joanne Lee. I will see you tomorrow at the same exact time. And have a great rainy day if it's rainy wherever you are. Or just have a great day, you know? Happy designing. Okay, bye everyone.